Hi, welcome to the Going Alcohol Free podcast. My name is Lise. I am your host, and welcome if you are new here or welcome back. In today's episode, we're going to be talking about something that really changed my life when I thought about this spiritual concept. And if you are new here, I was a binge drinker for 26 years. I drank almost daily for 26 years from age 21 to age 47. I'm 51 now. And on November 1st of 2020, I stopped drinking alcohol and I basically lost the desire for alcohol. That day, I just said, I don't feel like drinking. And I didn't drink. And on this podcast, I am just sharing the things that I do and the things that I've learned that helped me lose the desire for alcohol. And so that's what we do here. And my story, I started telling it why and how I quit drinking, starting in part one, which is episode 33, part two, episode 34, and then this episode is 35. And I want to share just one spiritual concept that really, like I said, all of these things helped me to lose the desire for alcohol when I started to understand the truth of who I really am and why I'm really here on this earth. And I'm just hoping that some of these things that I've learned and I'm sharing with you will help you too. And coming up, I do want to share some uh, mindfulness meditations that I have created, especially for listeners of this podcast. So I just wanted to give you a sneak peek that is coming up as well. And I have some other things planned for all of us here together too, to help you on your alcohol free journey. I'm assuming since you're here and you're listening or you're watching this podcast, that alcohol was a part of your life or currently is a part of your life. And maybe you want to drink less of it, or maybe you just don't want it to be a part of your life, but maybe that's a struggle. If that is you, you're in the right place. I'm glad that you're here. I'm going to be sharing, like I said, everything that I've learned and am currently learning that will help you understand who you truly are and why you are truly here on this earth. And our mantra is, helping people to feel darn good, live their purpose, and enjoy their life to the fullest without alcohol. Because guess what? We don't need it to feel good and to enjoy our life to the fullest. I thought that I needed alcohol to enjoy my life. I thought that I needed alcohol to help me to enjoy my life and escape from my life. I used it as a coping mechanism. Do you know how some people, you might know somebody who binge eats, who is a binge eater? Well, I was a binge drinker and I used drinking to cope with my emotions. Whether it was happy emotions, great, time to drink. Let's pour some champagne or some Prosecco, or deal with stress from my corporate job that I had. Make sure you go back and listen to those episodes 33 and 34 if you haven't, because I'm going to be building on top of that in this episode here. But yeah, I used alcohol to cope with my emotions. Alcohol was the solution to my problems. It wasn't really my problem, if you know what I mean. It was the solution to my problems, my stressful job, the job I hated. If I was going through relationship problems, if I was having a bad day, if I was having a good day, if I was done, doing a long workout or something, great, time to drink. So think about in your life, is alcohol really the problem or is it the solution to your problem? Think about that for just a moment. Because now that I'm looking back, and like I said in previous episodes, I never thought that I had a drinking problem. I used it to help me escape from my problems, which is why I never asked myself, like, am I drinking too much or is this a problem? I just like was using it so that I could feel better. But I never ever thought, oh, this is a problem. Okay, wait, maybe a couple of times when I woke up and yeah, like, okay, so a couple of times. But for the most part, I was a functioning person going to my job. I never got fired, maybe almost, but I never did. I did good work. I overworked. And when I wasn't overworking, I was drinking. Anyway, I've told my story in episode 33, 34. Go listen to that. But one of the things that I did mention in both of those episodes was that when my dad, I think when I was 8 years old, I don't know the exact age, but my dad and my stepmom had some friends over and they brought a bottle of wine. And there was never alcohol in my household because I grew up in a very Baptist home, which I also talk about in the previous episodes. So there was no alcohol ever. I never saw anyone drunk in my entire life growing up. It just wasn't around. My whole family on my dad's side was Baptist. So there was just never any alcohol around. And when he brought that bottle of alcohol, I didn't even really pay much. I wasn't paying much attention, but my dad said we didn't drink any of the alcohol. And I think this was after they left. We didn't drink any of the alcohol, or they didn't even call it alcohol. They called it wine. We didn't drink any of the wine. And I said to my dad, good, Dad. I'm so proud of you. Alcohol isn't, or wine or alcohol, I don't remember the exact words I said, but it's not good for you. And the question that I posed in the previous episode was, how did I know that? How did I actually know that? And here's my answer. My answer is that I learned this spiritual concept, and I've heard it from numerous spiritual teachers, Wayne Dyer, Louise Hay, and many others. As I was listening and absorbing myself into spirituality. The concept is called soul contracts. Now, they don't teach you this in Bible school or in Southern Baptist Church, but maybe you've never heard of this and maybe you have. But how it was explained to me is that all of us, when we come, before we reincarnate, and that's another thing that I never knew about, but truly do believe in now. And that's another thing that I want to share about. But before we come to this earth and reincarnate into our bodies, our soul decides of lessons that will evolve our soul and help us grow and evolve. And we come to earth and reincarnate into this body with these lessons that we want to learn. And all of us have decided, we've decided what are we going to look like? Where are we going to be born? What time we're going to be born? What year we're going to be born, who our parents are, and when we are born at that particular day, time, location with those parents, those we receive the exact set of circumstances that we have chosen before we reincarnate that will help us learn those lessons so that we evolve. So I chose my parents. I chose my parents who were going to get a divorce when I was very young, who were going to eventually be Baptist. And I chose these parents who were going to give me the exact set of circumstances that I needed so that I could learn my lessons. Now, as a child, I truly believe that I already knew that alcohol was a bad thing. that alcohol wasn't going to serve me in any way. And that is why I believe that I knew when I was 8 years old that alcohol was not a good thing for me. And when I heard this concept, I was like, you mean I chose my parents? I chose who I wanted to be born to so I could get these certain set of circumstances so that I would grow and evolve and learn these lessons that I chose to learn so that I could become an even more evolved soul. Because I'll tell you, that is exactly what I feel like since I've learned my lessons. Since I learned that I chose my specific circumstances, almost like a game, and I overcame the things that were being thrown at me. I I don't even know if that's the right words, but I overcame those things, those circumstances, the facts of my life, the choosing the career that definitely wasn't the best thing for me. And the reason why I chose a corporate career was because I did it so that I could please my dad. Going back to my relationship with my dad. When I was 15 and I snuck out of the house because I was drinking or snuck out to go drink, and I was no longer on that pedestal of my dad. And I was trying so hard to get him to accept me again and love me because I felt like he didn't love me. And so I was like, well, what career can I do to make him love me more? And that's why I chose corporate finance, because look at me. I'm in corporate finance. I'm doing all these things. I'm making this money. I'm doing this. And that is why I knew that I wanted to do corporate finance, even when I was in 10th grade or 11th grade, 10th, 11th grade, 12th grade. I knew that was the way that I wanted to go because then my dad would accept me and then he would love me. And then when I got into college, well, he didn't accept me. He didn't love me. He still almost, maybe the word is, resented me. And so if you're asking, which some of you have asked the question, why did you start drinking in college every single day? Well, as soon as I could, and when I was 21, I started drinking because of that. When I was doing my soul searching, and I was like, why did I start drinking every single day? That's the reason I came up with. That is why I felt like I wasn't accepted and I wasn't good enough. And that carried through my whole life because of my dad. And there was another thing that he told me too, which was, when I was a sophomore in college, and we already were rocky. And I asked him to borrow $80 before before college started, so that I could buy my books, because I didn't have my money, my scholarship money and stuff wasn't coming in yet. And so I asked him to borrow $80. And I said, I would pay him back in 2 weeks if he let me borrow the money, $80. And he said, no, you've made your decisions. You're on your own. And I was working at a restaurant, so I could pay him back in 2 weeks. And he said no. And what I made this mean, again, I didn't know this at the time, but my whole life I've had this thing with money where we'll go into that another time. But, I felt like I wasn't good enough. I wasn't worthy. Who am I to have money? And it all stemmed from those words that my dad said. No, you can't borrow. I will not let you I will not give you $80. I will not let you borrow $80. You've made your decision. You've made your choices. I still don't know what decisions or choices I've made other than, sneaking out of the house. And yeah, I broke up with a boyfriend who they wanted me to marry. So maybe that was it. I don't know. To this day, I haven't asked him. But a lot of the things along the way, I had to think about differently. And the soul contract for me made a lot of sense. Made more sense than the religion that I was brought up in. And almost like this is a game that we get to play. And we've given this set of circumstances. Okay, so think about your set of circumstances that you were given and that you chose those. And your soul chose those when you arrived on this earth. But you forget about it, right? We get amnesia when we're born. We have amnesia and we have to try and figure out this game of life. And so for you, whatever set of circumstances you've been given as a child and you have these subconscious beliefs, or maybe in your adult life you've had some trauma or something happen in your adult life, how can you think about those things as a learning lesson where maybe it was supposed to happen because it's going to help your soul evolve or grow? I know for me, when I thought about that that time when I was 8 years old, and how I told my dad, like, yeah, alcohol, like wine is no good for you. It all makes sense to me. And there's other things too. Okay, there was this time when I think I was 10 years old, and I was learning, or maybe I was 12. I don't remember, but I was learning about Baptist and Jesus dying on the cross and things like that. And I asked my dad, I said, well, what if there's a family that, or a family that gets stranded on an island and they have no way to read a Bible to learn about Jesus dying on the cross? Are they going to go to hell? And my dad said, well, of course they are. Of course they are, because they don't believe. And as a child, I remember going, wow, that just doesn't sound like a very fair or kind or loving God. I remember saying that to myself. I don't even know if I said that to him, but I remember thinking that. I just wanted to reiterate a story that had happened that just didn't make sense in my mind. Now, maybe soul contracts might not make sense to you, and that's okay. We hear what we want to hear when we're ready for it. And if I would have heard this many years ago, I might have had doubts and questions and things in my mind too, because I just wasn't ready to hear these teachings yet. So the teacher, there's an old Zen saying that says, the teacher will arrive when the student is ready. And so all of these teachings appeared when I was ready to hear these things. And then it just all clicked and it all started to make sense. Now, this spiritual concept of soul contracts, this isn't the only thing that helped me lose the desire for alcohol. There's many more teachings, and I want to share these with you all in these upcoming episodes, as well as not only just spiritual teachings, but mindfulness and meditations. Okay, so mindfulness is being aware of our thoughts, has nothing really to do with spirituality. But the three things together, these three things, spirituality, mindfulness, and meditation, are what really changed my life in every single area of my life. As I've mentioned before, my relationships, my money, my health, my happiness. And it almost feels like, yeah, do you know how when you are buzzed and you just feel like you're floating on air? At least that's how I did. And every day I just love to have that little bit of a buzz where I would just be like float. It felt like I was just floating through life. Well, I feel that, like that buzz, like the buzz without the alcohol. I don't even know how to explain it, but I just feel this giddiness, this happiness without the alcohol all the time. And the way that I feel is so much better than alcohol made me feel. And that is truly why I've lost the desire to alcohol, because why would I want to drink that and feel lower vibration than I'm feeling now? I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. I don't want to feel the way that it made me feel, because I feel so much better without it. I hope that makes sense. All right. I'd love to know if you've heard of this concept before, the spiritual concept of soul contracts. It changed my life. It's one of the many things that helped me to change my life and to lose the desire for alcohol. I've got more planned for us. And so I'm hoping that you all are enjoying this, and I will see you all in the next episode. Thank you so much for being here. Shine bright. Have a great day. Bye for now.